Today, on a special news episode, I'm joined by a real live ETH developer to discuss how far away Ethereum 2.0 really is. We're also going to be talking about whether or not a 100K Bitcoin is going to be reality, why laundering money with Bitcoin is getting more difficult, and how the future of sports and blockchain are going to collide. It's a very interesting conversation with Forrest from the Hoshoshi YouTube channel. I don't think you're going to want to miss. Let's get it. Hello and welcome to BitBoy Crypto, your one-stop shop for all things related to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I make videos on this channel almost every single day and sometimes twice. If you like what you see or hear, make sure to hit that subscribe button to become a member of the Bit Squad and please click the bell to turn on notifications. Now, if you'd like to take the conversation even further, then please make sure to join my Telegram group, the Bit Squad. I'm always open there if you have any questions. Today, we have a very special episode for you guys where Forrest, aka Hoshoshi, and myself are going to discuss some of the major news topics going around in crypto. We try to pick some of the most interesting topics, so I hope you guys enjoy this talk. Now, Forrest is an actual Ethereum developer, and yes, they really do exist. They're not a myth. So it's always interesting to hear his perspective since he's someone who is much more on the technical side of things in the crypto space. Now, you guys don't forget to please go subscribe to his channel on YouTube, Hoshoshi. I'll make sure to put the link in my description to his channel. All right, guys, enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, we have BitBoy on the channel. You might recognize him from prior collabs that we've done. I'll link those videos up above and down below. BitBoy, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. The first collaboration either of us ever did was together. That was like almost 2 years ago.
True. Major throwback. Obviously, both channels have grown a lot, and we're super thankful for that. We were just speaking about that before we started this call up. But for this segment, we wanted to do a special Crypto Over Coffee segment where BitBoy and I both share some interesting news that we read this past week, break that down for you. So BitBoy, I'm going to kick it over to you to share your first piece.
Yeah, so I know that you don't talk about price a lot on this channel, and I don't do technical analysis on my channel, but kind of the big thing that everyone has been talking about is this stock to flow chart. If you guys haven't seen it, you can check it out. There's a website, I think it's digitails.com, something like that. I'll put a link in the video description where you can go to it. But it basically has been accurate since the beginning of Bitcoin, and it is showing that starting in May, we are going to be hitting hyperdrive. And by next May, the price of Bitcoin should be around $90,000. And just to explain a little bit what the stock to flow chart is, it's the stock is the amount of Bitcoin in circulation, and then flow is the flow of that Bitcoin. So what do you think about all of the hype and hysteria that seems to be picking up again regarding the Bitcoin price?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to be more conservative when it comes to this. As you said, I don't really talk about price very much on the channel. It's not that I don't care about it. It's that I don't focus on it as much. But I do believe that there's sound economics behind Bitcoin. Stock to flow to me sounds like something that's really just a proof point for the overall inflation rate for Bitcoin over time reducing. So the amount of demand theoretically should outstrip the amount of supply coming in, or the flow of supply coming in. So I think that's good, and it's positive. That's the same positive pressure we've always seen for Bitcoin price, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people are starting to think that we are at the beginning of something that's going to be very special. But one of the cool things about Bitcoin, and one of the things that has drawn us all to it, is that everything's built in. It's all programmed into Bitcoin. So when people last year were talking about Bitcoin's going to X number of dollars this year, put all your money into it. The crazy thing about that is the price of Bitcoin has been pretty, it's been easy to predict to a certain extent, because every 4 years you have a halving built in, and it follows about the same cycle. So if in the middle of a bear market, people are talking about it's about to turn around today or tomorrow, then that's probably not going to happen. And the same thing that's happening right now, we're approaching the time when Bitcoin traditionally goes up. And so now when you're seeing people saying like, Bitcoin's going to 1,000, I actually saw an article today that said Bitcoin's going to $1,000. It just seems like that's not really possible right now. And what kind of excitement are you seeing from, your community?
Yeah, I see a lot of people like excited about it. Obviously, the conversations we have on my channel are focused more on tech and I guess the theory behind Bitcoin rather than the price. But I think a lot of people are very excited by this halvening event and to see what happens after that. I think everyone should just be cautiously optimistic, right? I think like we have been in the past, but you're totally right. Coming off of 2017 and 2018, that whole crash there, people were just like really hoping. It was just this deep hope that it would come back, and I totally understand that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't think any of us can ever predict, so we shall see.
Yeah, definitely. And I understand that, your crowd is definitely more into the tech side of things. But most people who are into the tech side of things, like they first heard about Bitcoin because of the price.
They're invested.
So price is the gateway drug when it comes to cryptocurrency. So definitely excited to see more people come in and get interested in the tech also.
Yeah, definitely. And this time around, I think there are a lot of positive voices out there to say, hey, here's how to protect yourself with hardware wallets, or here's how to not over encumber yourself buying something that you don't understand, all that sort of thing. So good deal there.
Awesome. Well, let's check out another story. What you got, Forrest?
Perfect. Yeah, I'm going to take us right back in the other direction and talk about Ethereum staking. So for those of you who have been following Ethereum 2.0, we're moving from proof of work like Bitcoin has over to proof of stake. And that's a mechanism now that basically takes the disincentive to make an invalid block or to perform some sort of malicious activity as a block maker. That's the form of proof of work. All the waste, if you will, that they go through to hash over and over and over again, and all that cost is driving them to be only incentivized to do the right thing for the network, right? Otherwise it's sunk cost. In Ethereum, they're like, well, this is inefficient. Let's make the network faster. We need transaction throughput. So instead, let's go proof of stake, where the disincentive to do something malicious with block making is the more stake you put in the network, the more wealth you lock up in the network, gives you more rights to make blocks. And if you have more wealth locked up, you're less likely to want to do something malicious and risk that wealth, right? So it's the same idea. You want to incentivize the right things, disincentivize the bad things. But in this case, it's a little more efficient because there's less computational waste. Ethereum is moving that direction. And in a test net, they've had about 1 million Ether staked by users of that test net to date, which doesn't sound like a whole lot if you think about the circulating supply. But because these test nets are voluntary, they're clunky to use, you have to be a little technical to really get involved and use them in any real way. I think that's a really good proof point that people are interested in Ethereum 2.0 when it launches later this year, the Beacon chain, and will move stake that way when that happens. What do you think?
So do you believe that will launch this year for sure?
I think that
I've seen stuff saying it's much further away.
I think that the full implementation is further away. I don't think we're going to see Ethereum 2.0 in all of its white paper glory until 2021, maybe 2022.
Well, I remember back in 2000,
the first bit earlier.
I remember back in I think it was 2018 when people thought it was coming by the end of the year in 2018, and there was an article that came out that said, "Oh, well, actually, this is much further away. It's probably not going to be out for a couple of years." And so now we're like a year and a half away from that article, and we're still not really, seeming to be that close. But anything that Ethereum can do to improve its throughput and the speed is going to be great. So I think eventually that's going to help. I think we're still also in a wildly speculative phase of cryptocurrency, and we will be for a while. Mm-hmm. So I think even though while it disappoints people it's taking this long, I think they have the time to do it.
Yeah, I'm with you. And coming from a software background myself, it's not in Ethereum and in these decentralized networks, or as decentralized as they can be, you only have one chance to deploy something, right? You can't push an update or push a new protocol and do a fork and then say, oh, hold on, let's just take that back. You have one shot to do it and do it right. So I'd rather them go through as many cycles and as many validation steps as possible to make sure that it goes off without a hitch. And I think the reason why we didn't see it in 2018 is, from a technology perspective, there were barriers and limitations that were not fully understood when they started the project. And I think they had to scrap it and start over personally. No one will say that, but I think that that's what happened.
Yeah, I think when we look at the overall crypto space, we're finally getting to the point where we may have some experts, but even Vitalik, when he first created Ethereum, was certainly not an expert, kind of flying by the seat of his pants to create Ethereum. And it obviously worked out very well. But I think over time, a lot of ideas that, started cryptocurrency or started different blockchain projects, I think are going to have to be torn down and rebuilt.
Yeah, for sure. And I think some of the protocols that came after Ethereum had a distinct advantage because they started from scratch with a method of funding, right, in the ICO. Whether or not they were all done properly, I will definitely not say. I think many of them were done poorly. But they had new funding opportunities, and they were able to take lessons learned from Ethereum. Yeah. That's invaluable. So
I think the Banana token chain is going to do phenomenal.
Oh man, just absolute craziness.
It had all the advantages to create the supply chain tracking for bananas. But anyways, I digress.
Multi-trillion-dollar market, right?
Did you know, interesting fact, by the way, totally not crypto related, but related to bananas. Did you know that bananas are the #1 selling item in Walmart?
Didn't know that, but I believe it.
There you go. I'm always giving you guys the useless facts that you don't want to know and that will not impress anyone.
Honestly, everyone, if you're watching this video right now, let me know your most useless fact, the thing that you know that no one cares about. I care about it. Let us know.
That's right.
So you want to jump to your next article?
Yeah, definitely. So the next news thing that's going on right now that I think has a lot of ramifications to Bitcoin is what's going on with CoinJoin. So CoinJoin is basically a way, there are different wallets that can use this, I believe, to basically wash your Bitcoin. And so if you have Bitcoin, it's a way to basically make it untraceable from whatever point you wash it until. And obviously, you say, well, why would someone want to do that? There's all kinds of different reasons. Obviously, we know there's dark web ramifications, and definitely, I heard the Mexican cartel is using Bitcoin now. There's all kinds of reasons why someone might want to do it. But there's a greater thing right here that, can have big effects on Bitcoin, which is fungibility. So right now, a lot of exchanges are no longer receiving Bitcoin that's been washed. So if you have Bitcoin, you put it through CoinJoin, then exchanges are considering it to be tainted. And so when we have a supply that's only going to ever be 21 million, and you have a certain number of tokens or of coins, Bitcoins in this case, that are going to be seen as tainted, and you're only going to be able to basically do over-the-counter trades or over-the-counter transactions with that Bitcoin, then that really kind of puts the whole supply in jeopardy. And this is a big talking point for privacy coins such as Monero that says, because every Bitcoin is not worth the same, because if your Bitcoin is tainted, it's worth 0, and my Bitcoin that's not tainted is worth whatever the current price is right now of around $9,000 or $9,200 at the time of this recording, then that means that all Bitcoin is not worth the same and it's not fungible. It's just very interesting thing that's going on right now. I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I think for anyone who's not familiar with what a CoinJoin does in essence, and this is highly simplified, but it basically combines multiple UTXOs, unspent transaction outputs, that's how Bitcoin accounting works, and spits them out into sort of one conjoined UTXO, right? And that's so that the inputs get masked by a new one. And so no one can go and use a chain analysis tool, go backwards and find where it came from, right? And using CoinJoin now, I've heard exactly what you're saying, BitBoy, is exchanges aren't accepting it, even though it's by protocol allowed, and there are a lot of applications that do it. There are ramifications from a legal perspective. I think it's difficult now for this stuff to happen because now so many people know about it, and there's so many on-ramps. So many people are buying Bitcoin casually, and it's so much easier to get it now. You used to be you can only get it from someone else or a miner, and there were no exchanges and no ways to buy it with cash. But now you can. And so now regulators are like, okay, you have these fiat on-ramps that let you pay with a credit card to buy Bitcoin. We need to know where this stuff's going. And that's for various regulations across Europe, the US, Canada. Every developed country has these types of rules. And so things like the travel rule, like when someone's information for a transaction has to be sent along with that transaction to the receiving end, that's going to be enforced. And it's now getting very difficult for these exchanges to protect themselves legally without saying, we're not accepting it at all because it's too risky. We can't track it and figure out whose is whose. So whether or not you agree with it on principle, because crypto is a widely varied space in terms of thought process, I at least understand why exchanges are taking this approach to it, because they need to protect themselves.
Yeah, and it is definitely just the interesting tension that we continue to see between the people who first wanted crypto to take off, wanted Bitcoin to take off, the libertarians, the people that are very, very anti-government, anarchists, and yet the kind of new generation of crypto investor who really just wants to see their assets go up. And it seems like over time we're not seeing the same amount of fight against government regulations that we saw in the beginning. Now it's kind of like if you can't beat them, join them. And people are hoping that maybe one day decentralization can, take over the world, but it's not going to be without a fight for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, not to belabor this point, because I think you're totally right on in that, is I think there's a lot of talk about, like you said, in that, like the anarchist community, et cetera, like this imaginary world where human beings across the world are going to be able to self-police and organize and do everything without any centralization whatsoever. Like everything will be perfectly decentralized. I am of the belief that it will never happen. Like human beings, and I don't know if you're in an HOA, human beings have proved even in their community that they can't organize and self-police. Yeah. So why would they be able to do it in a country or in a global civilization? So regulation in totality isn't bad. I think the best chance we have of, as being part of this community, working with regulators to make common sense but not so totally restrictive regulations, the way to go, personally.
Yeah. And I do hate HOAs a lot.
Yes, HOAs are terrible, and proof point that people can't create rules for each other. So,
I'm going to steal that. I'm going to use that multiple times in the future. So
feel free.
Awesome. Well, you got one last story for us to talk about.
Yeah, and this should be a relatively quick one, but I picked it kind of last second because you're a sports guy yourself. You might not be a soccer fan. I am, but you're a sports guy, so you'll appreciate it, I think. So I read an article, I think it was yesterday maybe, that French soccer club, Paris Saint-Germain, they're a Champions League soccer club, fantastic team, lots of fans. They partnered with a company called Socios, S-O-C-I-O-S. They have their own blockchain, which I think is an Ethereum open source offshoot, where they deploy ERC20 tokens that are called fan tokens for different teams and organizations. So the idea here is that Paris Saint-Germain can set up a certain supply of ERC20 tokens called PSG, and they can allow fans to buy those, get them, buy and sell from each other. And these are fungible tokens. They can be exchanged one for one. They build market value by supply and demand the same way any other token would in this regard. But the purpose of the token is for engagement between the team and fans, so that people that hold this token can use them to vote for different things related to the team. So jersey color, designs.
Oh, that would be nice. The Falcons are getting new uniforms. Like You're very
sick. There you go, man.
Stay in it.
And I think that's the benefit of the use case, is that while I'm not totally convinced that you need a cryptocurrency token for this, like you could do this without one. I think the benefit here is that you have an open exchange that the team is not necessarily in control of per se.
Yeah.
And you can create this like aftermarket exchange of tokens where people can amass them if they want more say in decisions that get made. I think it's pretty cool. It's a cool way to create engagement between the team and fans. What do you think?
Yeah, I love it. We've already definitely seen some, sports teams get into blockchain. I know the Sacramento Kings, they have a mining operation. I know obviously Los Angeles Dodgers last year had an NFT giveaway, and not necessarily the same thing as sports, but I actually talked to a company that are trying to revolutionize the entire arcade business, like Dave and Buster's and whatever local go-kart place you have that has an arcade, to make all prizes that you win at arcades NFTs, because there's definitely a push for younger generation. They care much more about that than the physical products. And so I love this idea of kind of combining that with creating fan engagement, to have a say. Like I mentioned, I'm a season ticket holder for the Atlanta Falcons, and we just got a letter from the owner a couple weeks ago that was on the news saying that we're going to get new uniforms for the first time since I think 2005. And it's really exciting. Like I'm really looking forward to getting new Falcons uniforms. As a season ticket holder, I have like 50% off new jerseys and all kinds of stuff. But it would be cool if I had a say in it, because all the time you'll see something on, like clickbait sites that's like, check out these, fancy alternative logos for sports teams. Like they do them for Star Wars. They did one that's like all Donald Trump, for like a Donald Trump logo for every team or something like that.
Yeah.
And it would just be cool if you could actually have a say in, like, some of those could become reality because the fans had a voice. So definitely cool. And so I am a sports fan. I'm not huge on soccer, but my oldest son just started travel soccer last night. So I'm definitely trying to get more into it. I know all the major teams, of course,
Yeah, the big guys. I mean, and Paris Saint-Germain is not the only team to do this. AS Roma, Juventus from Italy, they both are on this. I think West Ham United from England, they're in the game with the same company. So I think you're going to see a little bit more of that. And in English soccer, Premier League soccer, which is what I watch the most, a lot of teams now have been sponsored by eToro or other, exchange-like entities there. And you see
some online gambling, some sports gambling sites.
Yeah, sports gambling is big. So, I mean, I think it's good at the very least because it's putting this technology at the forefront for all of these fans that wouldn't otherwise know about it. So that's cool. So I'm totally into that.
Definitely very exciting to see the sports world combining with crypto. I love sports like more than anything. I love sports more than crypto, and I do crypto every day. But definitely exciting.
Heard it here, maybe not first. BitBoy loves sports more than crypto, but I actually totally respect that.
Well, I have a TikTok account. You guys go follow me on TikTok. It's
there you go.
At Facts FACTS CEO at Facts CEO. And I talk sports. My sports TikTok is already bigger than all the rest of my crypto stuff combined. So, it's kind of frustrating. I've been doing it for 2 months and I've got 70,000 followers there. So
it's a much bigger community, man. The sports community, that's for sure. But well done, man. Honestly, thanks very much for bringing articles. Always good to chat. We'll definitely do another collab sometime soon. I know folks usually love it. So thanks again, man. Honestly.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. And, definitely look forward to doing it again in the future.
Definitely, man. Take care.
All right. I hope you found this conversation to be very interesting. I know that whenever I get the opportunity to talk to Forrest, it's definitely going to be a very insightful conversation. If you guys enjoyed this video and would like to see more collaborations between myself and other YouTubers, make sure to smash the like button and drop a comment below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Hashoshi YouTube channel, where you can hear Forrest talk all the time about some of the technical things in crypto. You guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a blessed day. BitBoy out.